Hello, this is the IoT data marketplace application explanation video so in this video I'll summarize what I'm going to go through uh, to begin this video. First, I will talk about the file layout and how you can find specific components that you would like to change or to add on or to remove. Um, After that, I'm going to show you how to set up the Google Maps API key, so how to gain the API key so you can input your own API key in the application and make it work. For this, you'll need a Google account, disclaimer. After which, I'm going to show you how to get your own Firebase config/API key, which this application uses in the admin page so you can set up the data types later. After which, I'm going to talk about it and show you how the application state is managed. For this, I have used Context API, and I'm going to show you how the JSON file, which stores all the data request, is generated and stored. And after which, I'm going to show you how to add more locations in this application with postcode data, how I've done it and how you can do it too. And finally, I'm going to show you from the admin page how to add more data types into it. So that's about it. Let's begin. So first things first, let's talk about the layout of the whole application. So how React works basically is you do something called component-based design, which is since it's a single page application, it's only one page, but you reroute it to different URLs to see it. So each page has components, and you use these reusable components in pages and you load them or you show them or not. So for example, let's start the application just so we can have a little visual of how to do it. So to start the application, you just go in the application folder and do npm start from your terminal. They should start up in a bit. Just wait, yeah. Let us start, and then I'm going to show you how the overall design is made. So basically, this is the home page, right? And I'll show you in code where this home page is. So in home page, we have index.jsx, right? So in here, we have all these different components. For example, we have this trolley component. We have this trolley component. We have data container, which the trolley component is inside. We have so we have a bunch of different components like this button, the admin one, and media card. And I'll show you basically where all these components are. So what you do in React is you make these reusable components. For example, let's find media card here. So here it is, media card. This media card is used to show the cities here, as you can see. So in the media card has its own design and takes the picture and all of like select area, all these buttons and stuff. And what you can do is like you render it in the home page depending on your data. So in this, if you do see, I've rendered it twice because I only had 2 cities to render. I've only used media card once, but it loops through it with this map function in JavaScript, and it shows up 2 cities here. I mean, I'll show you later how you can add more cities, and it's just so easy and automatic, and it just directly updates it here without you needing to do much other than just give it more data to show. So that's how React works. It uses reusable components, and after the home page, there's the city page, and on the city page, as you can see again, we have the Google Maps component, which is again in this components folder. If you go Google Maps, you can find this component here. And yeah. So city page, the same for admin page, it has reusable components. Same for date and time, like if you go inside, they all have reusable components like semantic days checkbox, range slider, So these are basically the main pages folder, which has all these different pages inside, and each page consists of different components, and where you can find the components is here. These are all the components. For the styling, I've used Material UI, as you can read in the documentation. I'll upload it on GitLab, and also on top of that, my project dissertation also has a list of what I've used. So with Material UI, it just gives it a really nice layout. You can find or read more in the documentation, materialui.com. You can go here and get started, and you can basically read about different, like if a button and buttons API, or like media card, like the one I've used there, media card API, and see and change whatever you want to change on here. But basically the styles is also a JS, and it's basically looks like CSS, but it isn't really CSS, and it's a JavaScript. Most of the commands are similar to CSS, so that's a really good thing. Okay, so the pages contain components. You've said that. This is the assets folder. It contains the images, the mock data. I'll show you later how to add more and how to change these. So basically, after this, let's go and okay, let's talk about the whole thing. So this is the reducer. I'll talk about this as well. This is how I generated the JSON data for the like for the user's data requests pages. These are the hooks. Hooks are basically a little bit of like tool tips, which you can. In this case, I've created a hook like use Firebase collection, which basically connects it to the database. I've done it that way so I can just easily reuse it. On top of that, let's see, what else can we talk about? Okay, so constants. In this, I've just mapped equal to greater than. This is in the admin page. So when you go in the admin page, you select anything, it shows really nice, like for a user to read this. But on the back end, on in the application where the user doesn't see, it's actually stored in these values. These are the different types. This basically is used in reducers to manage context. I've just used it that way, so then it's so we don't change it that much, and it's easy to read. That's just how I've structured the files. And if you are really curious of why each component has a folder, and then each folder has an index.jsx and then a styles.js, it's because I am following the style guide of how Airbnb structures their components when they use React, because I thought maybe engineers at Airbnb know it better, or maybe they're a bit more experienced than I am. So I thought I would see how they do it and try to like do it that way. So yeah, that's about it for the file structure and what's going on in here. Now let's talk about and show how to get the Google Maps API key. So to set it up, first of all, the Google Maps API key, once you get it, you'll have to come and put it here. This is my API key. I'm going to disable it by the time you're going to see this video. So we go on here and we go on this. I mean, if you Google Maps API documentation, you're going to come to this this website. So copy that URL or Google it. You come here and you click on Google Cloud Platform Console. So that opens. Just wait. Once this opens, you see here it says credentials. So you click on credentials. Okay, once you've clicked on credentials, you click credentials. Yeah, once you click on this create credentials, and on create credentials you click on set API key, and you get this API key. So for now I don't need this API key, so I'm going to delete it. But basically that's how you get the API key. And once you get the API key, you click on it. You click on it, you come here, and you can basically restrict the key from here for more security, or yeah, you can restrict the API key from here, or you can read more about how to manage this API key on here on their website. You can also, I believe you can also restrict it if you want to use so if you want to use the Android, the SDK for iOS, but in our cases, we want it for Maps JavaScript API. So this one. So yeah, you click on Enable API, or you click on Manage, and basically you can enable it from here. See, it says disable right now, but you click on enable after you've gotten the credentials here. But for now, see, I have this credential. This is the same API key I'm using for this website, or this web application, let's say it that way, which makes it come here. Yeah. So basically, for the backend where this data types show up, this is the backend. I've used a Firebase real-time database. Yeah. So I've used Firebase's real-time database, and so once you get the key, you just copy it and then you just paste it here, and that should be fine. So for Firebase's real-time database, what you have to do is, if you see this, there's this file called Firebase. You click on it, and this is basically the Firebase config, and this is the API key and all the configuration files. So for that, how you can get that is you come to Google and you just write Firebase. You have to have a Google account to use Google Maps API and Firebase, and how to get their their API keys. So once you come to Firebase, you click on this. It says go to console. You click on console. I mean, I've already created this project, but you can click on add a project. You can write a name for it and continue, and it'll ask you 1 or 2 questions, and then you just create it. Once you create it, you're going to have this kind of window. And once you have this window, it says project overview. You click on this, it says project settings. You go on project settings. And once you come on project settings, if you see here, it says Firebase config. And these are the API keys and the real-time database and stuff. You copy this and you just paste it here in this file, firebase.js, in the application. And that's how basically you get the database. And I'll show you the database. So you click on here, real-time database. So for now, this is how the database looks like for the data type. So now I will talk about how the application state was managed. So basically what I did with state management is I used it to keep track of user-generated requests in a JSON schema. So how that was done is basically I used something called Context API. And you can find more about it in React's documentation regarding Context API. And it's basically something like Redux, which is a state management tool. But with Redux has a lot of boilerplate on top. But Context API is really nice, and it's lightweight. It's built into React, so that's why I decided to use it. So what Context API lets you do is you can basically create a data layer, which every component that you want can have access to it. So what I did was I created a context, which so basically I created a data layer first. Create context is used for that. I built a provider to provide this context to the whole application, and I'll show you how it's used later. And this is basically how it's going to be used when you want to interact with the context or with the data layer inside any component, is using this little function here. So the provider is, so on the app level, you can see that like this provider is used, and the initial state of the application is called initial state, and the reducer is reducer, and this reducer is the app reducer that I've made here. As you can see, I've imported it, it's here. So basically what a reducer does, I'll show it to you. So this is the initial state of the application, which is the JSON schema without anything inside it. So when you click select area, then that's when it interacts with the trolley of the initial state and updates it. And this is basically how it does it with this event handler. So basically what a reducer is basically it handles events, and it updates your state or state of the whole application or the data layer, whatever you have in the state, could be anything. In this case, it's the data requests of their users stored in a JSON schema, which you can see here, but it's updated, of course, in real time as the users they define their requirements. This is kind of like a switch case statement thing, where like these constants are what are here that I've put them in constants like so basically it could be like select city case, and then like that piece of code runs if that's the case, and I've just put them in these nice contexts and just exported them, so it's nice and really easy to read, and there's only one place where you change them in. So basically, let me give an example. So when you click select area, you've clicked this button, and what this button does is wait, I'll show you on the home page. Okay, home page. So when you click that button, this function gets fired off, and it's the name of the city, and it's dispatched, and the type is select city. So type basically means kind of like the case is select city, and the payload is the name of the city. And so when you go to the reducer, this select city, see it's an event handle. So the case of select city has been triggered. So what it does is it takes this payload and it updates the trolley, or it updates the state and puts this city or location name inside there. And it's the same story with the postcode. So when you go to the postcodes and you select it out and the postcodes, it's the same case. It updates the trolley in real time to be able to keep track of all the user generated requests, which is a really big part of this application, because in the end that's what will be used to know what which data users want and stuff like that. So now let's talk about how to add another city to this application, which is relatively really easy. So what you do basically is, what I did at least, is first of all, let's find an image for the city. Let's say I want to add city Bath. So I went and I selected any image. For this one, I selected this image, and I put it in my assets folder in images. It's called bat.png. After which I need some data for the postcodes, which is right. So I went, I Googled it, and I found this really nice website called dogal.co.uk. You can get CSV data here for any postcodes around the UK, anything. So if I did, let's search Bath in here. No, let's actually go postcodes, UK postcodes, and here it is, Bath. You click download here, and you download the data as CSV. But our application takes data in JSON. So after you've downloaded it in CSV, we need to basically convert it into JSON. For that, what I did is I wrote a nice piece of code in JavaScript, and or like Node. I use Node to actually change the CSV file into a bat.json file. So once this this small snippet or like application was created, what I did is I used it to change from CSV file to JSON file. So I can run this code right now and we'll see it in real time. Yeah, so node index.js. See, that piece of code ran, and I have a bath JSON data. If you see, it changed from CSV to JSON. And now that I have that, I copied it and I brought it into my application into postcodes. So I created a new folder called bath, and I have this JSON data here. To add a city is really easy. You just come here, and so the image in that we have, copy, we paste, and we change ID 3. You want to add city bath, and let's say bath image. Yeah, and that's really nice that we have IntelliSense on here, and it just directly gets that for us. So now that that's done, as you can see, a new city has been added. It's the same thing you do if you want to add a fourth one as well. I just copy pasted it, and you can see there's a fourth one in there. This trolley is sticky, so it's nice if you have loads of data and you can just move down and up and you can select as much as you want. Of course, if it can't be the same city, because like, see, if it's in there, it's not gonna work like that. So, which is nice. You have to add other cities in here. Now, basically, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the application knows that when we select city Bath, we are only shown the postcodes for Bath. So how do we do that? I've made it really easy. All you need to do is you come in cities list, and you come here and you just type the city name. Here's Bath, and you put that Bath data. So put Bath data, and that's about it. So now we have access to all the Bath postcodes that we generated from the CSV file and put it in here. And now if we click Bath and we come on select location, we do B, and this is the postcodes for Bath. As you can see, it's on Bath, which is really nice. So if I click Manchester and Bath, I have access to Manchester's postcodes and Bath's postcodes. Oh no, not Bath. Yeah. So something like BA, yeah, which is really nice. So that's how you can add more cities into the application. Next, I have another video in which I will showcase how to add data types from admin, but that's actually application's real workflow. That's not meant for developers, hence why I'm not going to put that in this video. That's in the next video, where like I go through the whole application and I talk about how everything and I showcase how the application works as a user flow and then as an admin flow, and how that's added. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, you can ask them to me on the GitLab where the code will be uploaded. I'll make sure I'll try to help, basically, and also I'll have a README file on there. Okay, thank you.